Hey everybody, who's ready for a 52 nugget Happy Meal? This is a big one. And I struggle to find bad and ugly news, but let's break it all down. This one's called Up, Up and Away. Thank you, Zeno. Thank you, K8, Sean Donnelly, TND Tesla, and everybody else for being here. Let's get into it. This is OCTA, which normally happens on Tuesday, but due to circumstances, we delayed it because there was so much MicroStrategy stuff happening yesterday. Anyway, let's get into the story. Make it fast. Not financial advice, of course. And shout out to everybody on Patreon too. Appreciate you so much. This is from Multitasking Ninja. Says, Patreon membership is the hardest asset on this marble earth. Never heard that before. Thank you. And by the way, the skill of multitasking is very important in life. And at any given day, I'm juggling at least 10 different balls in the air. So keep up the multitasking. Let's get into the good news first. Let's check out the last week in crypto. Everything divided by Bitcoin. Pretty impressive. We have certain names up very big. 32%. So that's how much Solana beat Bitcoin by last week. XRP 13%. ETH still languishing. Binance down hard. Cardano down. Sui down, Doge down. It was just a mixed week, but that dark green spot of Solana and of Link are very impressive. Radium is in there too. You can't really see it, but again, some dark green spots. Let's see what this looks like against melting ice cube fiat. Bitcoin up 8.17% for the week. XRP up 22% for the week. And Solana up over 43% for the week. Hard to believe, but eventually, as I always say, don't lose faith. Because cream floats to the top. That's what the data has been telling me since 2021, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for having faith. And we have not stopped there either. Let's get into where we are right now in terms of AltSeason. Still kind of middle of the road, but you could argue alts have the slight edge, 53. And if you're above 50, that means alts have the edge. If you're below 50, that means Bitcoin has the edge, which means the majority of assets outperform Bitcoin. But this week was kind of peculiar. I will just leave this chart here without making any comment, because if I say anything, people get upset. But anyway, the thing to point out is a huge amount of stuff lost money over the last month. Ondo down 24%. ENA, 20%. As I say, those things always rain down tokens. Tau, down 18%. I mean, we had the most perfect setup in crypto, yet certain things are down hard. Be very careful. If you have the type of month or week that we have had in crypto and your assets are down, maybe it's time to re-examine the thesis. Now, Thiel Jet as well, and Tchaikovsky, thank you all for coming. Sometimes things rise up and you can't explain them. There's two of them on this chart here, which I won't even go into, but that's just how crypto is. But eventually, again, just like in the stock market, over time, okay, it's a weighing machine over time, but time takes time. Let's look at the narratives for year to date so far. Ethereum down 2.3%. Bitcoin up 11%, and store of value up 37.2%. That includes all assets that are store of value, like Bitcoin and others. Centralized exchange is number 2. And some areas are really languishing, but they had a great 2024, like Deepin, but everything kind of mean reverts as we go forward. It's funny, I see gaming there down at the bottom too. I remember back in, was it 2021 or 2022? They were the biggest money grabs and continue to be so. So, despite what people think. Let's check out fear and greed. We are crazy extreme greed now at 84. Last week we were 70, so it's come a long way. Thank you, Piper, up there in Canada. That is important. When people are very greedy, markets are kind of bubblicious. And the question we'll try and address today is, are we close to the top or do we have a ways to go? And I'll break it all down. Now, shout out to the Finkster, our friend Larry Fink, biggest money runner on the planet. He said, if everybody had a 2% or 5% allocation to Bitcoin, the price would at least be $700,000. Crypto Dinosaur, thank you for coming to 700 grand. Larry, I can't know who the biggest chief marketing officer is for Bitcoin right now. Is it Saylor or is it Larry? It's probably a joint first. It is bonkers how far we have come since the old days, where if you even mentioned the word Bitcoin, people would look at you like you have two heads. Anyhow, That's the Finkster. And Finkster's money plan is huge. They make their biggest buy of 2025 so far. I'll show you exactly what the ETFs look like. Right now, Blackrock, by the way, they're the red line on this chart here. I've been doing this for 260-something days at this stage. The spreadsheet is so big that some of the formulas need a lot of memory to run. Anyhow, the point is, BlackRock is red. BlackRock has been on fire. Since day 205, they have been stacking hard. We are talking billions and billions and billions of dollars into BlackRock. So not only does this guy talk a big talk, but he puts his money, or his customers' money, where his mouth is too, which is monstrous. Rusted Woods, appreciate you all. So that's the red there. You can also see blue. Fidelity had their biggest day a few days ago. And another firm had their biggest day ever. Grayscale. The thing that bled out for 200 days. They had their biggest day too. Yesterday. Hard to believe. Anyway, the point is, people are looking for on-ramps. That was a big part of my video yesterday about what happens when this stuff runs out. Where do people go? Fascinating story. That thing had over 100,000 views in like 18 hours. And I've never had that before in a MicroStrategy video. My first MicroStrategy video ever, nearly 4.5 years ago, only has 2,000 views. Crazy to think. Anyhow, ETFs, they spent $3.2 billion in the last 4 days. This is just crazy accumulation. Well, you know, sometimes there are down days. A lot of times there are up days. The down days are small. The up days are huge. Literally 4 in a row, nearly $1 billion a pop into these ETFs, 7 ETFs, which is crazy. And yes, over the last 4 days, these ETFs bought 32,000 Bitcoin. I will repeat that. 32,000 Bitcoin. Remember, only 450 are mined per day and the miners are stacking. Okay, supply crunch is coming. Sailor bought 11,000 yesterday. 11,000 plus 32,000, 43,000 Bitcoin. That's 100 days of issuance, which you can't even get your hands on. Again, supply crunch is inevitable if this continues, which I believe it will. The world, the debt markets, the bond markets, the treasury markets, whatever you want to call them, the credit markets, they are all toast. Nobody wants fiat. And everybody's waking up to this. And now you have, again, Fink sharing news that everybody needs an allocation to Bitcoin in Davos at the WEF. Thank God I'm not invited. I wouldn't go anyway if I was. Anyhow, let's get into the other great news. Why this is called up, up, and away is this chart here. Now, historically, this is from Archie, Bitcoin Archive on X. I love patterns, and yes, history often repeats, and yes, crypto and Bitcoin are seasonal. They're seasonal, especially seasonal in the bull market. But if you compare where we are right now to where we've come from in the past, you will see, don't be surprised if, again, I'm not guaranteeing this, but we have a better setup than we did last year when it shot up 52% at the exact same point in time. Over the next 5 to 10 days, this puppy could shoot up 52% over the next 28 days, which would take us to north of $155,000, $160,000 approximately by the end of Feb, if it repeated. So the question is, could this happen? Let's look at my Bitcoin monthly return chart, where you can identify a lot of seasonality if you dig into it. Let's look at it right now. So the green years are the years of the halving, 2012, 2016, 2020, and 2024. But the year after the halving is when things kick off. 2013, 2017, 2021, and now we are in 2025. And so far, Bitcoin is up 11% so far, month to date. And we are how many days in? 20 days in? 22 days. Wow, January is flying by. 22 days in. But check out the average gainers for the month of Feb. 16.7%. The typical year after, in a bull run, after the halving, okay, 2013 we had 63.6% return in Feb. In 2017, 23.2% return. In 2021, 36.4% return. If you take an average of those puppies, you're looking at 40% plus. All right. Now, If that happens, this chart is going to happen if history repeats. But let's look a little bit further. Let's compare March, the year after the halving. 2013, 180%. 2017, down 9%. 2021, 30.1%. And the average return for the month of March, 11%. Average return for the month of Feb, 17%. One of the better months out there. Of course, November is the best month. But even if we look forward again to April, which is when springtime hits and everybody's very happy with the flowers popping out of the frozen ground, 2013, 50%. 2017, 25%. 2021, manipulated year, ignore it, down 1.8%. We'll see what happens this time around. So watch these monthly returns carefully. And either way, I think Q1 is setting up to be very, very good. Again, this is why we call this up, up, and away. Let's see what happens. I know Chewy is watching this right now, and he always brings up what I say a month later and says, yep, it was right. So we'll see. Shout out to Archie as well. Now, what else is going on? This is why this setup this time around is insane. Insane. If you had asked me my wildest fantasies for Bitcoin back in the year 2020, 2022, 2024, I would never have believed all of this would happen. But this from Dennis Porter. And I hear people going, oh, Dennis Porter, what is it called? The attention grabber. No, this guy is extremely well connected. He is in all the meetings. He's in all the rooms, and he's tied into exactly what's going on from a political perspective. And he has heard there will be more executive orders today for Bitcoin and crypto. And the world is changing rapidly. And Bitcoin is winning. I believe that because I see it in the tea leaves. All the promises that were made are being fulfilled. Okay, today could be a big day. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We'll see. And this news too, Fred Thiel, CEO, chairman of Marathon, is now spearheading an ambitious plan to establish strategic business reserves, Bitcoin reserves across all 50 states and the federal government. And he has been meeting with all the leaders, of course, hanging out with Saylor, hanging out with all the players at the White House and the Eric Trumps and Donald Trumps, etc. And we already have now 12 states introducing SBR legislation. I can't even keep up anymore. But this is the domino push we've been talking about. This is from Bitcoin Breakdown, by the way. And they got it from CoinGate. So this is an extremely, extremely bullish setup. And this is just the United States. Forget about the rest of the world. It's going to be crazy. Now, let's look at some on-chain stuff as well. This is the Miner net unrealized profit loss. And you can see it's currently at the level of 0.5. This is another good indicator to determine, hey, Joseph, long time no see. It's another very good indicator to determine if the market is overheated or not. And the answer is no, not even lukewarm. So we're fine. Okay, when we start getting high in the NUPL, that's one of the factors that'll tell you we're overheated. And trust me, I'll be on top of that. So stay tuned to this channel and subscribe if you haven't already. I never asked for that, but if you want to know what's going on, this is where you'll find out. Now, Bitcoin is now number 7 in terms of assets. Gold number 1, Nvidia number 2, Apple number 3, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, then Bitcoin, Saudi Aramco, Silver, Meta, Tesla, TSMC. You notice the trend here. A lot of US, a lot of technology, some oil, some gold, silver, and Bitcoin, and technology. That's pretty much all she wrote. But that's just the nature of the beast. That's why you invest in disruption, because that's where the money is. B-Man, thank you for coming. And again, yesterday I mentioned this guy, and you get groans, and you get people who are very toxic and critical, and ding, blocked. Anyway, this guy spent 14,000 days in jail, and I'll just talk about his bags today. That's it. But Ross, apparently, according to his wallets from Cointelegraph and others, he still holds 430 Bitcoin, which is worth about 45 million, which has not been touched for 13 years. That 430 Bitcoin 13 years ago was worth diddly squat. Today, it's a substantial bag. So we'll see what happens. And people are monitoring his wallets. Obviously, being away for that long, you probably want to get established and get some lifestyle chips. So do not be surprised if some of these are moved. But remember, Saylor buys 11,000 a week. At least on Monday he did. So 430 is not enough to shake the markets. Don't freak out, everybody. Don't freak out. All the haters are like, go short Bitcoin because Ross might sell some. Who cares? Silly stuff. Anyway, Grayscale, as I mentioned, from Thomas, Hey Apollo. They had their biggest day ever into the ETF. So what we thought was actually dead is actually coming back to life. Interesting. They dropped their fees and it worked. Also, another piece of good news too. And trust me, I tried to find bad news in on-chain. I couldn't. But this is also the sell side pressure of net realized profit taking. And it did peak in late 2024. And it's now down to about 300 million. And this shows you a complete drop in sell side pressure, which means the market is resetting to a state of supply and demand balance. So sellers have stopped selling. The buyers continue to buy. The price will go up, up, up and away. It's just numbers. It's just data. Anyway, let's also look at some on-chain stuff from Glassnode. This is the amount of Bitcoin that has not moved in over a year. And the answer is over 60% has not budged. Only 40% has. And that's during a very radical year, 2024, where I know probably my whole theory was a lot of people, long-term holders of Bitcoin, got rid of it and converted into ETFs for safety because they no longer trusted self-custody, which I believe caused a lot of this move. But even with that, 60% has not budged. And much of it has not budged for over 10 years, over 5 years, over 7 years, over 3 years, and maybe is lost forever. And that's also very possible. Again, this is a very finite asset, way more finite than people ever will believe. Now, let's check out the world, planet Earth, and see how this changes over time. It'll be very interesting to see, especially if there is a strategic Bitcoin reserve. But the United States now holds 198,000 Bitcoin. UK, shout out to the Brits out there, 61,000 Bitcoin. Finland, 90 Bitcoin. Bhutan, sorry. And Bhutan are mining like crazy. Between Britain and Bhutan, I nearly misread that. Nearly 12,000 Bitcoin. China, 190,000 Bitcoin. Imagine China and US, you see here, almost same bag size. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Georgia, 66 Bitcoin. Ukraine, 46,000 Bitcoin. And Venezuela, 240. And El Salvador, over 6,000. This is really, really good. When other countries, etc., see this map, they'll say, you know what? I better just get some, just as Shamath would say, schmuck insurance, just to make sure at least you're not left out of the party, especially with the price where it is now. And in other crazy news, this took a lot of people by surprise. You remember the OFAC lawsuit where all of a sudden software was not allowed, which software is freedom of speech? Well, the court lifts its OFAC sanctions on Tornado Cash, marking a major win for crypto privacy advocates. People that want to hold Bitcoin but not dox themselves, not KYC themselves, use mixers. They can do it again, apparently, allegedly. Coming, lawsuit's gone, boomf. Big change, big win for crypto privacy. And let's get into Solana because that had such a huge move over the last 7 days. It's crazy. And as I always say too, risk happens fast. It's like, you know, the thing pointing the stick at something and it doesn't move and then all of a sudden blasts through the head. Well, that's exactly what happened this week. And there was a lot of action. But this is a cool new chart that we have here from DeBridge. The total amount transferred per day per chain. All of the money movements are happening in purple, which is Solana. Over 60% of all the action on chain. Think of that number. 2/3 happens on one chain. Users, transactions, transfers, you name it. All the DEX action. All the DEX action, which I believe is the number one use case for crypto, alongside maybe payments and stablecoins and stuff like that. Massive. Now, shout out to Marty Party. He shared this as well. Solana is now the most bought crypto. I think this was yesterday. 161,000 buyers were buying Solana at $234. Let's check out the price right now because I know it was up to 270 plus a few minutes ago. 265 now. Fell off as is like clockwork. And number 2 in the box is XRP, 160,000 buyers. Bitcoin, 98,000 buyers. Yeah, stablecoins are on fire too. 82,000 buyers. And Ethereum, people are buying ETH too. 80,000 buyers. And Doge, that's the top list of what people are buying. Remember, sometimes things aren't exactly logical or rational, but that's crypto. And welcome to the jungle. Now, in other news regarding stablecoins, Solana flips Binance and stablecoins. The market cap exceeds Binance chain, up at 9 billion. Solana's north of 10 billion now, which also shot up 53% in a week. The price shot up 43% in a week, and the stablecoins shot up 53%. They are correlated, and I'll try to dig more into that correlation as we go forward, because I love correlations. If you can follow patterns and that have correlations with movements in price, you can make money from that data, which is very cool too. This is a visual of the Solana stablecoin action. Remember, stablecoins, for most of the people around the world, they can't do it on ETH too much because it's too expensive to move them. So now they found a way to move money using Solana. And Solana stablecoin growth in perspective is insane. It added $3.5 billion in stablecoin TVL in literally a very short window of time. I think let me get this right. They added $3.5 billion in something like 306 days. And then they added another $3.5 billion in the last 3 days. It's just going vertical. This is from the team at Blockworks, going straight up, and it breached 10 billion as well. This is also happening fast, not just risk. And a lot of the money, people say, where's all the money coming from? Is it from retail? Say, no, it's from Ethereum. Solana has seen 355 million in inflows over the past 7 days, 90% of which came from Ethereum. Another visual of that, if I have it, I forgot to add it. Whoops. I can show you the breakdown of base and Arbitrum and all the things. All these ETH and ETH layer 2s are being drained. Everybody's coming over to the party with the best music and drinks and snacks at the lowest price. So that's just what's happening. Black hole Sol. And if the news could not get any better, check this out. This is from Eric Balchunas and Solana Floor. They say Solana Futures ETF could hit the market by mid-March amid CME Group announcing Sol Futures contracts to get set to go live by February 10th. Why does this matter? Why? Because the futures always precede the spot. And for all the people that said the spot ETF isn't going to come to Solana until 2026, well, you're wrong. Because once this is in place, the spot ETF will be a fast follower. In most cases. Again, if history repeats, could be wrong. We shall see. And MultiCoin Capital wrote a huge report on Solana. It's very, very, very detailed, very complex, but they talked about how it is taking over as a leader in global finance due to its performance metrics, its dApps, its developer growth, its fees, its efficiency, its market efficiency, its liquidity, its total addressable market expansion, its adoption. There was so much in this, and I'll write a summary, more of a detailed summary on Patreon. But basically, it is now the clear leader in bringing the TradFi world onto crypto. It is now where everything is happening, and it's working, and it's very cost effective, very efficient, and making a ton of money as well. DBF 430, thank you for joining the party. Let's get into a little chart from DeFi Banked, who just shared it in the community not too long ago, literally an hour ago. And this is a 1 hour chart of Solana from DeFi Banked. Follow him on TradingView. And basically, it is the US dollar denominated Solana using the Binance chart. And it shows a very bullish technical setup. So here you see a triangular pattern at the bottom that broke out to the upside, which is very bullish. And then you have a bullish pennant for those people that like pennants formation, also very bullish. And you see two very significant bottoms, bottom one and bottom two. Boom, boom, right there. And they're around the 220 mark. Now, that formed the base of this pattern. So that's considered now the new support level for Solana. So if you see Solana anywhere down near 220, 225, consider that a very good sniping area. Also, the chart shows you potential upside targets. First target is 290, target 1. Remember, we hit over 272 a couple of days ago. So 290 is not very far from target 1. And target 2 is about 305 to 310, if I'm reading this correctly. And target 3 is 320. Again, risk happens fast. We could be up here in the stratosphere in a very short amount of time because the world is waking up to what this thing is worth. And I can tell you, just imagine hypothetically for 1 second, if XRP is fairly valued, Solana should be trading way north of $3,000. That's how insane crypto is. Okay? So let's hope. Imagine XRP is fairly valued at what it is now. It'd be crazy. Anyhow, let's get into stocks for a second. Some good news as well. This is stocks year to date. And we kicked off. NVIDIA fell a little bit, actually, because Joe Biden dinged it right before the 20th of January, but it rebounded fast. It's now up 8% year to date. Amazon 5.5%. What else we got here? Tesla up over 7%. Apple down 10%. As I've been saying for a long time, Apple has lost its innovation engine. Google up 4%. Microsoft up 4%. Meta up 6%. Oracle, big pump today on the news yesterday at the White House, up nearly 10% on the AI Stargate project. JP Morgan up 9%. And it's funny because you got the JP Morgan, massively profitable, by the way, all of a sudden start getting really bullish on things like Bitcoin and Tesla. Let's get into some of that right now. Jamie Dimon, he called. You've got to look at Elon, SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink. This guy is our Einstein. I'd like to be helpful to him and his companies as much as we can. Guess what JP Morgan want to do is be Elon's banker. Invitation from Davos right there. So again, follow the money. It's all happening together. And you can see the correlation with the stock chart here as well. Bonkers. And shout out to Jamie Dimon, who was a non-believer in Tesla and Elon and Bitcoin. But a sign of intelligence, very important to say, is when people revise their mind and they change their mind and they admit they were wrong about the past. That's a very strong sign of intelligence. Also, this is happening. Optimus bots. Big breaking news. Tesla reportedly told suppliers that they plan to produce 600 of these every week before the end of this year. The ramp is happening now. 600 a week. That would take us to over 30,000 made. And my only hope, this is kind of weird because normally you don't want to hope for price to stay down, but it's been very clear I would hope for Tesla to stay in low 400s to the end of the year, because then I know that's maybe when Bitcoin will run out of juice and then maybe it's time for a little rotation action. Anyhow, shout out to Herbert. I'll be on with him next week. If true, this is massive news for Tesla. By the end of the year, 30,000 run rate for Optimus. Wow. And the thing about this, especially from hanging out with Jeff Lutz so much, he talks about how it means it's design complete. If they're planning such a huge run rate, they are finished with how this thing will work and operate, and it's 22 degrees of freedom in the hands, etc. And that is just an aggressive plan, and it's happening. But the good news for us retail investors, nobody knows it's happening. They think it's a car company. What is Tesla? It was a car company. Yeah. Cybertruck sales were bad in December. Bad company. It's beautiful because, as I say, if everybody was intelligent, we'd all be poor. So we need these people in our lives. And Dan, this is crazy. Dan Ives, who is one of the hyperbulls like us, they don't even include Optimus in their valuation. Their bull case is 650, which is massive. And they talk about how they just raised their price target. Everybody's bubbling up their price targets now to 500, 550, 650 by year end. I think we probably hit 600 by year end. It could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would like it to stay as low as long as possible, if possible. And the other cool thing about this too, if we get to 650, guess what happens? And assuming Bitcoin price stays the same, which it won't, it's going to go up. But if Tesla hits 650, guess what's going to be number 7? It'll have over the current market cap of Bitcoin today, which is number 7. That means the market cap of Tesla will be about $2.15 trillion, rough math in my head, up from 1.3 trillion right now. It's going to leapfrog everything and eventually leapfrog NVIDIA too. Mark my words. It might take 2-3 years, maybe 4 on the outside, but it's going to do that. That's my thesis, and I'm sticking with it. And this is kind of good news and bad news. Before we get into the ugly and the bad, and sorry, there's just so much to share today. That's what happens when you move OCTA to Wednesday. There's even more news. But the US needs way more electricity, way more power demand. And this ties into, I had a question from DDub regarding, what's going on with energy and the new administration? Is that good for Bitcoin miners? Well, if you look here, you can see the growth of energy. Rolling 6-month change in electric power is up only 2% in December. And it's slightly stronger than the median, but it's nowhere near enough. The US needs more energy, fast, more energy for AI, more energy for electrification. It doesn't have enough, and that's why it's a good thing investments are going to be made. How miners can play a role, they can't create more energy, but they can help dampen the demand, which is a good thing too. So watch this space carefully, but this ties into everything. Tesla, megapacks, AI, it's all electrification, EVs, it's all tied to demand. The other thing about energy too, it's very important. There is a direct correlation between the amount of energy a country produces and the GDP per capita. Energy is money, always has been, always will be. And AI is the new energy too. A little bit of ugly news before we jump in. And I did say I will be talking about miners on Friday. The miner average cost to mine is $89,463. That's the average cost, which means there are miners out there that are mining a Bitcoin for 120, 130, 140K. There are some mining for 50, 60K, 70K. But a lot of them are so close to the price right now, they're probably not making money. And that's a problem. We'll examine that more in the Miner-ity Report on Friday. And I do these once a month now. I used to do them more frequently, but, miners had their day in the sunshine. And now it's time to pare back. Perhaps. We'll see. Now, if Bitcoin shoots to 120K, 130K, that changes this calculus very, very quickly. So bear that in mind as well. Miners are not dead, but they're also not thriving. Let's get into the ugly news. The token unlocks, the big ones for the week here. Immutable X up, dumping 1.43% of the supply. Eigen always 0.6%. ENA 0.43%. Optimism 2.32%. Pretty big unlock for that layer 2, which hasn't really gone anywhere for the last year or so. Sui unlock at 2.13%, which is also already reflected in price, down about $4.50. Zeta 7% unlock. That's a big one. DYDX 1.15%, XDC 5.4%, and Kaspa 0.7%. They're the big unlocks for the week, so be careful. And the final bit of ugly news, and sorry to our friends in the UK, I see many of you out there, like Sean and others, but sadly, millionaires continue to flee the United Kingdom, and one millionaire leaves Britain every 45 minutes. Since the year Labour came to power. Now, I don't know much about what Labour is, what the party is, or the politics over there. But I do know, because I track the flows of millionaires all around the world. They're leaving for Cyprus. They're leaving for Portugal. They're leaving for Dubai and other places. And that's a problem because these are the people with all the money and they are a huge part of the tax base. So when they leave, where does the government get money? That is, they incur more debt. And then the fiat goes down. That's why you need Bitcoin. That's probably why so many viewers here are from places that are having fiat problems and macro problems and demographic issues and so on. But we got robots coming, which will hopefully solve a lot of that. Anyway, thank you all for coming. All these videos are turned into Substacks, all the images, all the documentation, and you can listen to them as well. Hope you like the show. Don't forget to hit the like if you want to amplify your intelligence. Thank you all for coming. Let me just check on the Bitcoin price, actually. 265, 104, 265 for Sol, 104,000 for Bitcoin. And see what's moving today. Wow. There's a company called Control Technologies. They're a proxy, and they're up 18% today. Neptune up big. It's been up big all week. I won't even mention the other one that's up big this week is F-Coin. But that's the crazy world we live in. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. This week is flying by already. Thank you, Sean Donnelly. Thank you, KH. Thank you, TND Tesla. Thank you, Zeno. And a big shout out to Joseph out there in Dubai as well, where all the British millionaires are going. Must be a fun place to be. Thank you all. Good night.